My name is Adeline Harper, and I'm 35 years old. The night my husband told me I was second place in my own marriage, I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I didn't cry. I just listened. Ethan and I have been married for 5 years. He's 33. Charming in that quiet, steady way that makes you feel safe, until you realize you're the only one standing guard. His family has always been involved. Not "we'll bring pie on Thanksgiving" involved. More like his mother having a key to our house and letting herself in on random Tuesdays because she just wanted to check something. More like his older brother Caleb treating our garage like a long-term storage facility for projects that never seemed to move past the idea phase. More like Sunday dinners that weren't invitations. They were summons. At first, I thought it was sweet. Big family, close-knit, supportive. It took me about a year to understand that always there for each other really meant always there to take. Caleb needed $3,000 for a business opportunity, something about importing specialty car parts. It never materialized. His sister Lily needed help with rent just this once. That turned into 4 months. His parents' air conditioning unit died during a heat wave. Somehow that became our responsibility. Every situation came dressed as an emergency, urgent, immediate, temporary. And somehow, every time, it was my card that swiped. I make more than Ethan. Not drastically, but enough that the difference became convenient. I'd been covering around 70% of our expenses because there was always something draining his account. Whenever I pushed back, gently, carefully, I got the same script. "They're my family, Addie," as if DNA granted unlimited access to my checking account. But I'm not here to talk about all of that. I'm here to talk about my birthday trip. We'd planned a coast vacation for months. Boutique hotel already paid for, time off approved. I had even bought a new dress. Navy blue, simple, something that made me feel like I still recognized myself. I was excited. That should have been my first mistake. Ethan was in the kitchen when his phone rang. I was grinding coffee beans, half listening. Then I heard it. "Of course we'll help," he said. "I'll cancel our trip." The grinder stopped mid-whir. "Hold on," I said slowly. "We're not canceling." He covered the phone with his hand. "Caleb needs someone to co-sign an $8,000 loan. And he needs it fast." I stared at him. "That's not our problem." His face shifted. Not anger, not yet. Disbelief. "We're helping him," he said quietly. "The trip can wait." "No." The word landed heavier than I expected. He blinked. "What do you mean, no?" "I mean, no, we're not canceling. And we're definitely not co-signing." He ended the call with his mother and turned fully toward me like I'd just betrayed something sacred. "Why are you being like this?" he asked. "Because I'm tired," I said. "I'm tired of funding disasters." He ran a hand through his hair. "He's my brother, and I'm your wife. That's not fair." "You're right," I said evenly. "What's not fair is being an ATM for 5 years." His jaw tightened. "My family comes first," he interrupted. "That's just how it is." The air in the room shifted. "You come second," he added. "You knew that when you married me." Silence swallowed the kitchen whole. "Say that again," I whispered. "My family comes first," he repeated. "You're second. Family is forever." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Something in me, something that had been bending for years, finally stopped. "Good to know," I said. He looked relieved. "So you understand?" "No," I replied, "but I appreciate the clarity." I packed anyway. He followed me into the bedroom, voice rising. "You can't just go without me." "Sure I can." "You're being unreasonable." "You made your choice," I said, folding the navy dress carefully. "I'm making mine." I took the trip alone. Actually, I invited my friend Nora instead. We laughed. We drank wine. I stood on a balcony overlooking the ocean and felt something strange and unfamiliar. Light. Ethan called 15 times. I didn't answer. When I came home, I didn't yell. I didn't threaten. I reorganized. I opened a new checking account and redirected my direct deposit. I calculated exactly 50% of every shared expense, Mortgage, utilities, groceries, internet. That's what I would pay. Not a penny more. He noticed when his visa declined at a gas station. He stormed into my home office. My card isn't working. Correct, I said. I removed you as an authorized user. You can't just do that. It wasn't your card. It was mine. How am I supposed to pay for things? Like an adult? His face reddened. We're married. And according to you, I said calmly, I'm second place, so I'm acting accordingly. He stared at me like he didn't recognize the woman sitting behind the desk. Maybe he didn't. He tried guilt next. Love, partnership, history. Partnership? I actually laughed. You told me I come after everyone else. That's not a partnership. That's a hierarchy. He went to his parents' house that night. When he came back, the spare bedroom had changed. His family craft supplies boxed up in the garage. What did you do to my room? He demanded. I made an office. That was my space. I pay half the mortgage, I replied. It's my house too. We barely spoke after that. I signed up for a woodworking class. Started going out without explanation. Sunday dinners? Are you coming? He'd ask. Nope. Why not? Got plans. What plans? I'd just smile. The confusion unsettled him more than anger ever could. He was used to me showing up, smiling, paying. Now I was simply not. And somewhere beneath the silence, I could feel it building. Because men like Caleb don't just stop at $8,000. And families that treat you like an ATM rarely accept overdraft limits gracefully. The real emergency was still coming. The real emergency arrived 3 weeks later. It wasn't a phone call this time. It was a procession. I had just come home from my woodworking class, the scent of sawdust still clinging to my jacket, when I opened the door and found Ethan's entire family standing in my living room. His mother was crying. His father looked rigid and pale. Lily stood near the window, arms folded tight across her chest. And Caleb, the golden child, the serial disaster, looked like someone had wrung him out and left him to dry. No one said hello. No one asked how I was. Ethan stepped forward first. His eyes were red. We need your help. With what? I asked evenly, setting my bag down. His father answered instead. Caleb owes some dangerous people money. How much? A pause. $35,000. The number didn't even shock me. It felt inevitable. Gambling, Lily muttered. It got out of control. Not weekend poker, not casino fun. Underground games, loan sharks. The kind of people who don't send reminder emails. Caleb shifted his weight and avoided my eyes. They already beat him once, Ethan said. They're serious, Addie. I looked at the room, my living room, my couch, my framed art, and all of them standing there like I was the final line item in a budget spreadsheet. We need $35,000 by the end of the week, his father said. You mean you need it, I corrected gently. His mother's sobbing grew louder. He could die. I inhaled slowly. That's rough. The silence that followed felt electric. His father's jaw clenched. We need you to help us. Why would I do that? You could have heard glass crack. Because he's family, his mother shrieked. He's your family, I replied calmly. Not mine, remember? I'm second place. Ethan stepped closer. Addie, please, they could really hurt him. He probably should have thought about that before gambling money he didn't have. Caleb finally looked up. These guys aren't playing. I'm in real danger. Sell your truck, I said. I need it for work, and I need my money for my priorities. His father took a step toward me, too close. What kind of woman abandons family in a crisis? The kind who was told she's second, I answered. The kind who funded your crises for 5 years. His mother wailed louder. We welcomed you like a daughter. You treated me like a bank, I said quietly. That's different. Ethan grabbed my arm. His grip was tight, not violent, but desperate. I will divorce you if you don't help, he said under his breath. The room went still. There it was, the final card. I searched his face for hesitation. There wasn't any. Okay, I said. He blinked. What? File. His mouth opened slightly. You're choosing them, I continued softly. Like you always have. Lily exploded first. You heartless witch. His mother joined in, tears turning into fury. His father's voice lowered into something almost threatening. You're making a mistake. No, I said. I stopped making that mistake 3 weeks ago. Ethan looked like the ground had shifted under him. You'd really let this destroy us? You already did. That's when Caleb stepped forward. They broke 2 of my ribs, he said, lifting his shirt slightly. Bruises. Angry and dark. For a split second, something human flickered inside me. Fear. Not for him, but for the chaos he carried like a shadow. You need to call the police, I said. They won't help, he muttered. Then that's your consequence. His father's face hardened. If something happens to him, it's on you. No, I said firmly. It's on him. They stood there a moment longer, like maybe I'd crack. I didn't. Get out of my house, I said finally. This is Ethan's house too, Lily snapped. My name is on the mortgage, I replied evenly. Get out. For a moment, I thought his father might actually lunge at me. Instead, he grabbed his wife's arm and dragged her toward the door. Lily followed. Caleb lingered, eyes burning with something ugly, then turned and left. Ethan stood there, alone. You don't mean this, he said quietly. I do. He shook his head. You've changed. No, I corrected. I stopped pretending. He left with them. He didn't come home that night. Or the next. Through a mutual friend, I found out they managed to scrape together $20,000. His parents took out a loan against their house. Lily pawned her wedding ring. Caleb sold his truck. They were still $15,000 short. The men he owed gave him an extension, with interest. And apparently, by unanimous family vote, this was my fault. The harassment started almost immediately. His father showed up at my office 3 days later, somehow made it past the lobby, stormed into my department and started shouting about abandonment and betrayal. $35,000, he yelled. That's all we asked. Security dragged him out while he screamed about karma. My boss called me in after. What the hell was that? I explained everything. The gambling, the ultimatum, the divorce threat. He rubbed his temples. I'm sympathetic, but this cannot happen again. I understand. But they weren't done. His mother started calling my family, my parents, my brother, cousins I hadn't spoken to in years, told them I refused to help during a life or death emergency. My mom called me. She says you wouldn't give Caleb money. For gambling debts, I clarified. A long pause. Oh, she said, that's different. Relief washed through me. Good for you, sweetheart, she added. Don't let them bully you. But Ethan's family escalated. One morning, I walked to my car and found deep scratches carved along the side. Deliberate. Expensive. I filed a police report. I couldn't prove it was Caleb, but I knew. Then Lily showed up outside my woodworking class. Waited until I walked to my car. You know they beat him again, right? She hissed. That's on him. You could have prevented this. He could have prevented this. You're a sociopath. And you're enabling a gambling addict. Her mouth twisted. You'll regret this. Maybe. But not for the reasons she thought. That night, I sat alone in the house that suddenly felt too big and too quiet. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't crying. But somewhere, deep down, I understood something. They weren't grieving the loss of a daughter-in-law. They were grieving the loss of a funding source. And Ethan? He was grieving the collapse of a system that had always worked in his favor. The divorce papers hadn't come yet, but they were coming. And when they did, I knew this wouldn't stay in living rooms and parking lots. It was going to get uglier. The anonymous HR complaint arrived 2 weeks after the car vandalism. By then, I'd already started documenting everything. Every call, every text, every incident. A growing digital folder labeled simply boundaries. I was called into a small, overly air-conditioned conference room on a Tuesday morning. Across the table sat a woman from HR I barely knew. She looked uncomfortable. We received a complaint about you, she began carefully. From who? It's anonymous. Of course it was. They're claiming you've been making threatening comments about family members, that you've shown volatile behavior. I blinked at her. Volatile? They're suggesting you may be unstable due to a domestic situation. There it was. Not just retaliation. Reputation warfare. That's completely fabricated, I said evenly. She nodded. We have to investigate all complaints. So I explained. The gambling, the ultimatum, the harassment. The fact that my father-in-law had already been escorted out of the building once. By the time I finished, her expression had shifted. This seems personal, she admitted. It is. I provided documentation, screenshots, police report for the car, dates and times. She promised to close the investigation quickly. Still, walking back to my desk, I felt something colder than anger. They weren't just trying to pressure me. They were trying to destabilize me. Because if they could paint me as irrational, heartless, unstable, then maybe the narrative would stick, especially against a woman who refused to help. My boss called me in later that afternoon. I believe you, he said, but if this keeps spilling into the workplace, we'll have to take further action. I understand. And I did. But what I understood even more clearly was this. They were escalating. The next move came from Ethan. His number flashed on my phone late one night. First time since he'd left. I let it ring twice. Then I answered. We need to talk, he said immediately. About what? About us. There is no us. A pause. I didn't mean it like that, he said, voice softer now. What I said in the kitchen. Yes, you did. I was under pressure. You've been under pressure for 5 years. He exhaled sharply. Can we meet? Just coffee, face to face. I shouldn't have agreed. But part of me wanted closure, clarity, proof that this wasn't salvageable. We met at a cafe downtown. I arrived first. He walked in 10 minutes later with his mother. I almost laughed. Ambush. She slid into the seat beside him before I could stand up. You need to stop this foolishness, she said immediately. I'm leaving, I replied, reaching for my bag. Ethan grabbed my hand. Please, just listen. I came to talk to you, not get cornered. She's here because you won't listen to reason, he insisted. Reason? I looked at both of them. Your brother gambled away $35,000. Your parents took out loans they can't afford. And I'm unreasonable for not joining that disaster? His mother's face flushed red. He made a mistake. He made a series of choices, I corrected calmly. She leaned forward. We raised you like a daughter. You fed me dinner, I said, and sent me invoices. Ethan winced. Addie, he whispered, please. For what? I asked softly. To resume funding the chaos? We just need help through this rough patch. There is no patch, I said. This is who you are. Silence settled over the table. For a split second, I saw something flicker in Ethan's eyes. Not anger, fear. Because deep down, he knew I was right. I'll file for divorce, he said quietly. I thought you already were. His mother gasped. You're destroying our family, she accused. No, I said, standing. Your family did that all by itself. I left them there, blocked both of their numbers that afternoon. The divorce papers arrived a week later. Courier envelope. Cold. Official. I sat at the kitchen island, the same one where he'd told me I was second, and opened it slowly. Half the house. Standard. Half my retirement. Expected. Then I reached the final demand. He wanted me to cover his legal fees because I had financially abandoned him, and he was requesting $10,000 for emotional distress. I stared at the page, then I laughed. Out loud. When I met with my lawyer, a sharp, unflappable woman named Marissa, she read the demands twice. They can't be serious, she said. They are. She leaned back in her chair. This isn't about money. This is about control. I nodded. They're trying to punish you for withdrawing access. We filed our response. Clean, direct, evidence-backed. Meanwhile, the situation on Ethan's side was deteriorating. Through mutual friends, I learned his parents' loan had a balloon payment they couldn't cover. Caleb had vanished. Left the state. No forwarding address. Interest was piling up. Lily's marriage was cracking under financial strain. And all of it, somehow, was still my fault. Ethan texted me from Lily's phone one evening. Are you happy now? My parents are losing their house. Caleb's gone. Lily might get divorced. All because you wouldn't help. I didn't reply. I screenshot it. Sent it to Marissa. Because this wasn't about happiness. It was about consequences. And consequences don't belong to the person who refused to enable them. They belong to the people who created them. I slept fine that night. Not because I didn't care, but because I finally understood something I should have known years ago. You cannot save people who are determined to drown. And if you keep letting them pull you under with them, they won't thank you for it. They'll just expect you to hold your breath longer next time. Court was scheduled for early spring, and judging by the escalating theatrics so far, it wasn't going to be quiet. Court day arrived gray and cold. Fitting. I wore navy. Structured. Clean lines. No softness. When I stepped into the courthouse lobby, I immediately saw them. Ethan stood near the entrance with his entire entourage. His parents, Lily, 2 cousins I barely recognized, even an aunt who used to bring casseroles to Sunday dinners. It looked less like a divorce proceeding and more like a moral tribunal. For a split second, I wondered if they thought numbers would intimidate me. They didn't. If anything, it confirmed what I already knew. This had never been about our marriage. It had always been about access. Ethan looked thinner, dark circles under his eyes, his jaw tighter than I remembered. But when our eyes met, there wasn't remorse. There was resentment. Inside the courtroom, Marissa set her binder on the table and gave me a small nod. "We're ready," she said. Ethan's lawyer looked smug, confident, a stack of highlighted pages neatly organized in front of him. The judge entered. We stood, and the performance began. Ethan's lawyer opened first. He spoke about emotional strain, about my sudden withdrawal of financial support, about how Ethan had been left in an impossible position between his wife and his vulnerable family. It was almost impressive, the narrative they'd crafted. Then Marissa stood. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't dramatize. She simply opened the spreadsheet. "Your Honor," she began, "this document outlines 5 years of financial transfers from my client to her husband's family." She walked the judge through it methodically. $3,000 for Caleb's business venture. $4,800 in rent assistance for Lily, $6,200 for HVAC replacement at the parents' home, cash advances, Venmo transfers, direct deposits. Total, $24,137, none of which, she continued, was ever repaid. The judge's eyebrows lifted slightly. Marissa moved on. Additionally, my client has been covering approximately 70% of the marital expenses, despite both parties being employed. She submitted bank statements, credit card logs, receipts. Then came the text messages, printed, highlighted, organized by date. Marissa read one aloud. "My family comes first. You're second. That's just how it is." The courtroom went very still. Ethan shifted in his seat. His lawyer attempted to interrupt. "That statement was made during a highly emotional—" "Was it made?" the judge asked. Ethan swallowed. "Yes." Marissa didn't gloat. She simply let the words hang. "My client," she continued, "responded by setting financial boundaries. She did not withdraw support from her husband. She withdrew access to her personal income for extended family bailouts." Ethan's lawyer pivoted. "He stopped contributing beyond 50% of shared expenses. That constitutes economic pressure." The judge looked unimpressed. "Paying half of joint expenses is not abuse," she said flatly. "It is equality." Behind us, Ethan's mother began to cry loudly. "He abandoned us," she sobbed. "We needed him." The judge looked up sharply. "Ma'am, you are not a party to this divorce. One more outburst and you will be removed." Silence. Ethan's lawyer tried again. He argued that Ethan had become financially dependent on me due to established patterns. The judge reviewed Ethan's income statement, then reviewed the outgoing transfers, nearly all directed to his family. "Dependency," she said dryly, "appears to have been extended beyond this marriage." There it was. Without cruelty, without theatrics. Truth. When the alimony request was raised, Marissa calmly dismantled it. Both parties are employed. There is no evidence of career sacrifice, No children, no documented abuse. Then the request for me to pay his legal fees. On what grounds? The judge asked. Financial abandonment, Ethan's lawyer replied. The judge actually leaned back in her chair. Setting boundaries after being told you are second priority does not constitute abandonment. A few seats behind us, I heard Lily inhale sharply. The ruling came quicker than I expected. House to be sold. Equity split 50-50. Retirement accounts divided per state guidelines. Each party responsible for their own legal fees. No alimony. No further contact outside required legal coordination. It was clean, decisive, final. Outside the courthouse, the real performance resumed. Ethan's father approached first. You're really going to let her family lose everything? He demanded. I didn't take out loans against your house, I replied calmly. You welcomed her into our family, he snapped. You welcomed my wallet. His face flushed. Then Caleb appeared, out of nowhere. He must have slipped back into town. He looked worse than before, gaunt, angry. He stepped into my space. You think you're better than us? I think I'm responsible for my own choices. He shoved me, hard enough to stagger. Marissa stepped between us instantly, already dialing courthouse security. Touch my client again, she warned, and we're filing charges. Security arrived within seconds. Caleb was escorted away, shouting threats that felt hollow and exhausted. Ethan stood a few feet back, watching. Not intervening, not apologizing, just watching. And in that moment, I understood something with absolute clarity. He had never been caught between me and his family. He had always chosen. He just assumed I'd keep absorbing the fallout. As I walked toward my car, his mother called out one last time. Karma will find you. I paused, turned slightly. It already did, I said softly. Then I left. The house sold within a month. Market was strong. After paying off the mortgage, we each cleared about $85,000. He needed his share immediately. His parents' foreclosure was already underway. I transferred mine into a savings account, and for the first time in years, my future felt quiet, predictable, mine. The house closed on a Friday. I stood in the empty living room one last time before handing over the keys. No framed wedding photos. No Sunday dinner leftovers in the fridge. No tension humming beneath the drywall, just space. It echoed differently without them. Ethan had already moved most of his things out weeks earlier. The garage was finally empty. No half-built shelves, no abandoned investments, no family overflow, just concrete. I locked the door behind me without ceremony. $85,000 hit my account the following Monday. Ethan's share disappeared almost instantly. Through mutual friends, the neutral ones who refused to take sides, I learned what happened next. His parents lost their house. The loan they took to cover Caleb's debt had a balloon clause they couldn't meet. When the extension expired, foreclosure moved fast. They moved in with Lily. Lily's husband did not take that well. Apparently, discovering your wife pawned her wedding ring to cover her brother's gambling addiction while secretly taking out additional credit cards is destabilizing. He filed for divorce within 3 months. Caleb? He vanished again. Word is he's in another state, different crowd, same habits, still dodging debts, still creating new ones. And Ethan burned through his settlement trying to stabilize everything, helping his parents with rent, paying off interest collectors, covering Lily's attorney fees. 2 jobs, exhausted, living in a small studio apartment on the outskirts of town. The same family that once said I didn't understand loyalty now barely answers his calls. Because once the funding pipeline dried up, the loyalty dried up with it. I bought 2 bedrooms, floor-to-ceiling windows, a balcony that overlooks the city lights at night. Modern, everything deliberate, everything chosen, mine. No one has a key but me. No framed photos of people I'm pretending to like. No garage filled with other people's mistakes. The quiet took some getting used to. For a while, I'd wake up expecting the phone to ring with another crisis. It didn't. Instead, mornings felt calm, predictable, safe. I started seeing someone new. His name is Daniel. He's a high school teacher, steady, grounded, soft-spoken in a way that doesn't hide anything. On our third date, he mentioned his family. They're loud, he laughed, but mostly about football. No midnight emergencies. No co-signed loans. No whispered ultimatums. When he pays for dinner, it's because he wants to. When I pay, it's because I want to. No ledger. No scorekeeping. Just balance. We're taking it slow, deliberately. The last time I heard from Ethan was 6 months after the divorce finalized. New number, unknown sender. I hope you're happy. You destroyed my whole family because you couldn't help in an emergency. I stared at the message for a long time. There was a version of me, the old version, who would have tried to defend herself. Explain again. Clarify. Apologize for things that weren't mine to carry. Instead, I typed one sentence. Your family destroyed itself by treating people like ATMs and making terrible choices. I just stopped participating. Good luck. Then I blocked the number. My therapist asked me once if I felt guilty. No, I said. She tilted her head slightly. Not even a little? I thought about it carefully. No. Why not? Because I didn't create the emergency, I answered. I just refused to fund it. She smiled faintly. That's growth. Maybe it is. Or maybe it's just exhaustion. The truth is, I didn't orchestrate revenge. I didn't plot. I didn't sabotage. I simply stopped. Stopped covering loans. Stopped absorbing insults. Stopped shrinking myself to fit into someone else's hierarchy. They called it abandonment. They said I was cold, unfeminine, heartless. But here's what no one tells you about being heartless. Sometimes it just means your heart is no longer available for exploitation. The system worked beautifully for them as long as I complied, as long as I smiled at Sunday dinners, as long as I swiped my card without complaint, as long as I accepted being second. The moment I stepped out of that role, everything collapsed. Not because I destroyed it, but because it was never sustainable without me. That's the part they'll never admit. Ethan once told me, standing in our kitchen, that family is forever. He was right. Family patterns are forever, unless someone interrupts them. I was the interruption, and I don't regret it. At night, I stand on my balcony and watch the city lights flicker below. No shouting in the background, no emergency calls, no ultimatums. Just quiet. The revenge wasn't elaborate. It wasn't dramatic. It was financial literacy, emotional boundaries, self-respect. It was choosing myself after 5 years of coming second. And honestly, best decision I ever made.